specific spot.
Put them everywhere, you know. So I haven't been able to put to practice.
Starting Facebook.
Word.
Sweet. We are live on all channels.
We ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Boom!
Hey, what's up, my friend?
Guys, how are you? How's everyone? We're gonna do our best. This is our first one. You know, we've never done this before.
Word.
So, my man Jamie, you haven't gotten Jamie in a while, have you, Jordan?
Nope.
Jordan is over there. He made it happen. He said yes to me about this before he even knew that he could do it. He was like, yes, last night. And then he was like, oh no, let me figure this out. So, I believe there's like a 30-second delay.
Okay.
So, I am going to open the floor. You can ask, look, we both rash guards as well. You know, if you want to ask some MMA questions, Professor's got a bunch of MMA fights. I have a bunch of MMA fights. You can ask anything you want. We won't respond to the ridiculous. Okay?
Let's do jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu technique.
Yeah.
Right? You have to ask technique questions. We got one.
We got a first question from Bruce Bugby.
Bruce.
Nice.
His question is, did giving me my black belt somehow trigger the jiu-jitsu apocalypse?
Well, Bruce, it depends, my friend. Do you put chips on sandwiches still?
Wait for the delay.
All right, we'll see. We'll see what goes on there.
Maybe while we wait, you could do a little bit of intro, what we're working on.
Well, what are you saying?
Give them time to get some questions
Yes,
going.
yeah. So, my friends, we also have the Easton, every day we put something out.
Yeah.
And let's go over a little bit of what you showed.
Okay, yeah, of course.
A little bit of just the flow that
Right.
that you have shown from the Daily Hiva.
Yeah.
Okay? And if we get asked any questions, then go. We got a question or what?
No, I'm just saying he does put chips on sandwiches.
I'm sorry, Bruce. So, we'll go from there.
Yeah,
Okay?
super down. Congratulations, Professor Bruce. That's awesome.
Not the chips on sandwiches.
You do whatever you want with your chips, bro. Okay, guys. So we're just running a flow. It's just to get us comfortable with all the different kind of positions here, these inside guards where we're playing underneath our opponent. We're using the Daily Hiva to kind of jump off from. Remember, let's get him wiggly first. I'm going to extend him. I know he's going to push into that because he wants to kill the foot. And I'm going to elevate. Pulling him to me and floating him. I don't need him to stay here. I know he's going to post his feet. But this leg stays floated. And it moves me into that single leg X. From here, Professor can get a little practice. He gets to push some legs apart so I can cycle through the guards, right? Our modified X. If you know the reverse X, it's a great time to move to it, even though we're not going to use it. I'll set him back down. Professor will build his base, puts us in that standard butterfly. We're going to kick him away, create the angle, and now I'll run the whole thing again, guys. It's important. Jiu-jitsu, you got to be able to play both sides. I'm kicking him away. I see him stuff the foot, but this is okay. We wanted that. Elevate. He's going to post. We're going to move to that single leg X. Professor will start to defend the guard, cueing us into our modified X. We'll set him down so we can thread to that reverse, float him, bring him to us. And now Professor gets to work a little defense. He'll go cross collar, popping the grips, kicking through the elbow, and now he gets to cycle through. He'll run out. I can stand up in base, and then it would be Professor's go. Of course.
Do we have any questions, Jordan?
We do have some questions.
Okay.
So
Let's go there questions first. Yeah.
Got it. So Jake Bell
Yeah.
is asking Professor Huddleston to please demonstrate the most basic lapel guard entries and detail the biggest mistakes that people beginning these techniques typically make.
Ooh,
And then we also have a question on YouTube from Alex Dent. He's one of the kids coaches in Longmont. He says, Jordan keeps putting me into Kimura locks. Favorite way to escape from this nasty bugger?
That sounds like a great one for you.
The escape of the Kimura.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you ask Alex from where, like the bottom of side control? Is that what he's asking?
Probably. That's usually where I do it.
Is that where you get it from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm on top, and that's
Okay.
where I usually get
In
it.
the gi or no gi normally?
Gi.
Okay.
We'll get you, Jake.
We'll
I
get
promise.
you, Jake. I think the Kimura's a little faster.
Yeah, where you need me.
Okay, so let's go side control. So what we want to understand with when the Kimura starts to happen, like escaping the actual Kimura lock can be very dangerous. So Professor gets this all locked up, right, all the way around my head, grabs it, okay, and now I'm here like this. This can be problems, but let's start here. So circle towards the camera, just yeah, okay. So there's two things that I know. One, his hands have to be locked, and two, he has to keep my head. So if he doesn't keep my head, then I'll have a much more room to play with my arm. So what I like to do is I like to get my hand behind the Achilles, okay? So one, I'm behind the Achilles, my hand that's being Kimura'd is holding my belt. This is my first go-to. Because if I can get here and I can free my head and then walk away from him, the space, look where his elbow went. His elbow went down to my hip and it starts to allow my elbow to escape. So that's the first very basic when you are in the Kimura. And let's be clear, get back over my head please, Professor. If this happens, there's one escape, it's tapping. Okay, so we're not going to address that. But so the first thing, look, is I defend my belt. I just have to get a hold of something. Okay, I'm sorry, I defend my arm. I get a hold of my wrist of the belt. My hand comes inside, okay? If it's in the gi, I'll grab the gi and I'll just open space so that my head can come through the space. Now, generally, this person puts their knee back down on the ground, okay, because they feel it, and I push a lot, okay? So I push back because I need to make sure that his side of my body, his elbow now has moved towards my hip, and my elbow can hit the mat. When they're doing a good job with their leg now, I have to attack the actual grip. We're going to pretend that this leg is here, but you won't see what I'm doing with the leg here. So there we go. I take the same hand that was on the leg, and I come inside the lock, okay? And now once I come inside the lock, look, I'm gonna start to lift and strip, okay? I push the grip down, and I push my hand right through this space where his hands are to start to open the lock, okay? So one more time, you can hold tight, Professor. So even when he has a tight grip, I'm holding my belt, my hand's inside. Look, I'm gonna push straight in my arm, and I'm gonna push straight so that it loses the grip, because I push the lock down. Now the same thing with my elbow to the mat, and I start to turn and face. So those are my two already in trouble looks that I like to give when I'm in Kimura danger.
Nice. I love those. Those are why I don't try to finish Kimuras, because you're so good at those escapes.
You tie me up with that lapel, though. That's what you do, right?
Different,
You tie me up with the
I
lapel.
hide from you.
Yeah, well, no, you give me different dilemmas.
Oh, man.
Let's get to Jake.
Yes. So, Coach Jake, the biggest thing that I would recommend for a lapel player, right, beginner lapel player, to focus on is not getting so focused on the lapel grip, right? So it's very much like when you learn jiu-jitsu, like you're working your re-guard and you know one re-guard and you're gonna make it work, and then eventually we start finding opponents who can use that insistence on our part against us. Right now it's not going so well. I'm almost running into things because I was so focused on the one thing, right? Jiu-jitsu really wants us, in my opinion, to lose that idea that the no stopping mind, right? I don't want to get stuck on, I'm gonna play lapel, that's it. So the reason why I say that is, if I was here, Professor, let Professor stand, and I go get the lapel grip, and I'm so stoked about it that I got it, but Professor's already went to Toriando's and ran away. Right, I already lost everything, and you'll see this all the time. Professor will pass, and then here's this guy, or gal, or whoever's doing jiu-jitsu, with the lapel in their hand, still trying to escape with it. Like my mind can get a little stuck on these grips and think that they're more important than the jiu-jitsu, even more important than the reality I see in front of me, right? So I'd really recommend recognizing that the lapels are
I have to interrupt you right now. Who are you?
I don't know. It's just really important for the lapel player to understand that The jiu-jitsu works, regardless of whether you have a lapel going or not. So let's use the jiu-jitsu for the most appropriate thing we see, not that idea I had. Like, professors fought a lot. You walk in there with a game plan, it starts not working, we can almost sink the ship because we get so stuck to it, right? So we have to be able to make some adjustments. That would be the biggest thing for me with the lapels. The easiest lapel guard to get into, in my opinion, guys, is the Squid. Super simple. We'll have Professor scan. We'll have the lapel. We're going to get both feet on his hips, and we're just going to come underhook this leg. Now, if you've been doing jiu-jitsu a long time, the Squid is very similar to how we used to play this underhook and sleeve grip. Because now we get this nice high collar, I can pick up my hips, omoplatas and triangles for days. We can run the same thing with the lapel. So this is allowing me to kind of reorientate around my partner's leg. The biggest thing I see here, guys, in terms of errors, I guess, would be there's a pretty easy pass to this lapel guard. Professor's gonna step forward just a little bit, just to make some space, because now he's gonna start turning his knee to this other leg, and he's gonna Heisman out. Dang, most athletic thing ever. Very nice, Professor.
I've always wanted to Heisman, Professor.
So, if you're gonna play the Squid, guys, it's really important. We're either dropping this knee inside, so it's very difficult for a professor to turn in and fight us, or you're already off to the races working. The person winning the knee line here maintains the guard.
Can you explain that?
Right.
Knee line? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so if I have my partner's knee get higher than mine, relative to the floor, then I'm stuck here, right? This guard's pretty much dead. I'll probably have to transition to somewhere else. You can just put too much pressure into my guard, it starts to break down. If I keep my knee higher than my opponent's relative to the floor, then it's very difficult for them to pressure into us in a way that's gonna affect the structure of the guard. And again, the Squid works inside out as well. So once the knee goes inside, I'm still wanting to win the knee line, but it's not relative to the floor anymore. It's relative to their other leg. I want to make sure my knee is never on the outside of these two legs, because he's gone. Does that make sense?
Who's the first to Heisman?
Oh, what?
Who's the first to Heisman?
Like ever?
Ever.
Oh, man.
He's Desmond Howard.
Oh, see, look
Michigan,
at that.
baby.
There you go. Very nice, Professor.
You guys want some more?
Let me look at my Instagram for a sec real fast.
Okay, yeah.
Everybody here got a question? Nope. Nope. All right, good. What you got?
One, Adam McGowan says, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
And Luma, down from Cast Rock, says hi to Professors Alex and Eliot.
Hello, Luma.
Bruce Bugby had a question. Can you guys talk about how you like to fight for front headlocks off of snap downs when standing?
When standing.
Ooh. This is all you, Professor.
Okay. I think we're going to go no-gi here, maybe? Perfect.
Aaron Elizabeth also said, thank you for addressing the escape of the Squid Guard.
Hey. So, for me, when we're talking about the standing position, it's kind of like the professor said, you can't be so stuck on the front headlock. The way I like to make my front headlock happen is I like to start it by digging underhooks, okay? Which becomes a hand fight, okay? So if I can get this underhook, then I can start to get to his head because they start worrying about this, okay? Now, the way I get to the underhook sometimes, wrestling stance for me, Professor, is sometimes I'll snap the head. Okay? So I'll start snapping the head. This is always one of my first go-tos. Because if I feel a loose head, look, I'm just off balancing him and then coming to my front headlock position. Now, when he, look, that's very rare. So I start snapping the head, he starts pulling out of the front head snap, okay? When he starts pulling out of the front head snap, I'm gonna start going away from my hand that's snapped, and I'm gonna start digging this underhook position. So that I can start looking at body locks, single legs, and now he knows I want this. He starts to step the leg away, and now I snap the head back to the front headlock position. So this is how I like to start to look at getting the front headlock or getting to the front headlock. It starts with, yes, I want the front headlock, snap the head down. It then moves to, he says no to this, so I start going underhooks. And now look, I'm away from the front headlock again. I'm coming back to the body, to the leg, all the way behind. These start to be my focus of attack, knowing that when he starts to defend all of these, his head naturally comes down, and I move to my front headlock position. What I will say is in this initial snap, my wrestling coach, Leister Bowling, always used to say, the biggest mistake is to hang on the head. And I think people get that sometimes because when we demonstrate, we're on the person's head for a long time, but you don't want to be doing that. So if Professor and I were wrestling, look, it's this snap. I'm not just like hanging out here on his head, because this gives all kinds of problems. I hope that helped, Bruce.
I like, so a system.
A system, yeah. Just like you were talking about with the lapel guard, right? Like, okay, you want lapel, so you grab lapel. But then lapel changed.
Right.
Like
the
lapel
jiu-jitsu
changed.
asked for something else.
Right. So so I think Bruce asked more of a wrestling question.
Right.
But it's still a martial art.
Grappling.
Right. It's still a martial art. So yeah, you can't think of, this is not moves, guys. Like there's no answer to this. There's not like, oh, this move works. And I would say this is probably one of the biggest things that I know I try to teach away from.
Right.
I think you do as well.
Right.
Is like you have to have a looped system.
Yep.
Where when they go to one, it will feed itself back again when you run the system.
Right.
Right. Where you're not like, oh, I'm going to do this move. And for me, I think of it because like you do a move and you're successful, and then you go, yes. And in that yes time, your partner countered maybe.
Right.
And now you're behind on the right now because you had some celebration. Not that you ever stand up and go, yes, but, you know, or on the opposite, you go, damn, I got my guard passed. When you get stuck in that past thing.
No, I think it's super important. No islands.
Right.
Like no islands. Everything's going to be connected to something else. Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, regardless, it's all a grip away. Right? I think it's really important to remember.
Really great, yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, so
Alright.
we got a question from Matt Easton on YouTube, and he says, any chance showing a few stretches that you can do on your own that will help with the curriculum as well as prevent knee and groin injuries?
I don't know that I don't have any.
Yeah, I think that the stretching thing, you want to be really careful for you, right? Everyone's going to have different body requirements there, what you're used to, what helps you. The one thing I would say for jiu-jitsu fighters, I think it's really important to reverse the guard, right? So we're constantly like this, all balled up. Like even when I'm sitting up, I'm still leaning in because it's so important to go get him. I think anything that helps us with extension is going to be a really big deal.
Got it.
Something was obviously very funny. What did
Yeah,
Bruce,
he's
what did
smirking
Bruce
at
say?
us.
I don't know that I can say it, but
Okay.
it's already on the comments, but Tim Galuzzi is with us, Professor Galuzzi.
Yes.
Do you want me to stop there?
I mean, we could probably stop there. Professor Tim, we don't know what you're doing right now.
Let's see. So, from Brett Guy on Facebook, how do you recommend practicing something as simple and relaxing as breathing as a white belt? In my case, many times I don't even realize I'm overstraining or not breathing.
Professor, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can give some.
Go.
For sure. So I'm stoked. Who is this again?
Brett Guy.
Brett. Nice question, Brett. I think that's really important for, all of life, but you notice it a lot in grappling, right? You got somebody leaning on you, somebody laying against your chest. It's one of those things where you're going fast and then also bracing and trying to be strong in moments. Like it's very, very cardiovascularly challenging. That's why it's so fantastic of an exercise. Way better than a treadmill, in my opinion.
That's a perspective.
Right.
That's a perspective.
So one of the things that, and Coach Jordan knows this one, we just talked about this recently, something that I recommend for our coaches when we're training with the students, let's be really cognizant of doing the technique rather than winning or losing, right? Like I really want to try to focus on the jiu-jitsu so that regardless of how it's going, I'm constantly in that moment of doing the next most skillful technique, right? So rather than like, oh man, I need to be on top or I need to finish this submission, let's stay really focused on why we're here, why you're at the training, in that mindset, I can slow down a lot in there, right? Even if I'm moving quickly, like mentally, I can start to slow things down and ask myself, what's that next most skillful step? I don't want to recommend too crazy of challenges for a white belt student with the breathing, but something I recommend for our bigger guys is to try to breathe through their nose when they train with someone who is less than 200 pounds, right? We'll just say it doesn't matter, the number doesn't matter. The idea would be that if I have to bear down, take that big gulp of air to make this technique work against my opponent, probably not the right technique in that moment, right? Maybe a good technique, but not against the partner that I'm training against, not the most skillful option. So let's try to breathe through our nose that whole round. Notice how different of a pace you take, how you can slow yourself down just because we're metering, right? We're just not giving as much gas to the engine. And it helps me a little bit with my big guys, like slow the game down. What about you, Professor?
I first want to talk on a more macro level with your breathing. So I think you and I both do it. We practice breathing.
Yeah.
Did you breathe today?
Yes, sir.
Did you practice your breathing today?
Yes.
You took some time just to practice breathing. Okay? Because that way it doesn't get away from me. It's always something that I am practicing. So that I know, for example, you just had a tough time, right? Over the weekend. Yeah, and I saw you the next day.
Right.
And every couple minutes I saw you just go.
Get back into the
moment.
And
just get back into the moment.
Right.
You know, into the moment. The other night, a couple weeks ago, a month ago, when you were helping me out, right? You know, when I wasn't doing so well, you were like, just let's breathe together.
Right.
You know, and I've had to help a couple people since then. Yeah. You know, so first I would say, do you have a breath practice on the daily that you could start doing places? And I really agree with what you said of how you define your winning. Okay? Because we get shake hands, it's pass the guard drill, right? And you lay down, and I do this, but somehow you mess up, but I and we're like, win. Because, you know?
Right.
Because I worried about this one individual instant.
Yeah.
Rather than being okay with not winning, but slowly working your way to the most skillful way to do it so that you can start to have success. You know, stop. Here on, I got a great opportunity when I was a purple belt to go live at Elliot Gracie's house for a week.
Wow.
You know, so it was me, a couple other dudes that won the tournament, Helio, Huron, Hanner, and Horian and Halleck. You know, it was a really great trip. And Huron told us a story once, and he was like, man, I was so close to beating Hoyce. You know, we'd have these like 30 to 40 minute matches, but at the end I would lose. You know, he would catch me, he would get me. So I asked my grandfather, I was like, his grandfather's Helio Gracie, and he's like, Grandpa, how can I beat Hoyce? And his grandfather responded with, how about you start with not losing? Change the paradigm of what winning is, right? Change the paradigm of what winning is, and then everything just takes a little step down.
I love that.
That was awesome. You guys ready for another one?
Yeah.
All right, so we got one from Kirk Leslie on YouTube.
What
He
up,
says,
Kirk? Yo.
Awesome. So he says, Professor Alex, can you review finishing the Americana after you transition from the sling armbar?
Ooh, wow, man, Kirk, thank you so much, because you must have caught that on the DVD. Professor, can we get our keys on? So, sometimes we forget that the...
Did Kirk buy your DVD?
He must
have.
It's
BJJ Fanatics, baby.
Thank you so much, Kirk. I appreciate your time, man. And I know we're going to do it at the end, too, but again, thank you to everyone who's on. Like, thank you to our community. Like, I know training is on a bit of a hiatus, but our community is still here, and it's fantastic to be a part of it in every way. So, Kirk is talking about a closed guard position.
You guys scoot back towards the wall.
Yeah, we're on it. So sometimes we think about the lapel guards as we're just looping the lapel between the legs, but that's not always the case. There's a ton of attacks we can use on the lapel directly attacking the upper body, right? So something that we'll see here is, I know that Professor is gonna start building his base to get up soon. He's not gonna hang out here. A lot of times you start getting that stiff arm in the chest because he doesn't want you to come up and fan sweep. In this moment, it's a great opportunity to attack this limb. We're gonna pull out the lapel on the same side, and we're gonna go get it. I'm gonna think about it like my palm karate chopping that tricep here. And what I'm looking for now is a sleeve grip. I'm gonna start climbing my legs. I may not break his posture yet, but you're gonna notice this lapel grip is incredible, a lot of leverage. So when I pick up my hips and I drop them, I'm pulling that elbow across my belly, using that lapel grip to get me there. Now, there's a whole lot of attacks from this position, right? So we won't go into all of them because Kirk has a real specific question, but something that I think is really nice about this position is that the arm bar is gonna be there if we start to lose, right? And you know this arm bar, we worked on it this week with Professor in our classes, latching onto this shoulder, using our knee, turning to the arm bar. But I don't have to let him up, right? I can keep this left leg really high on the back. And I'm gonna get more on my side. And I don't know, it might be a little tough for the cameras to see, but
This way?
we'll stay right here. We're gonna go get this hand. When I grab this hand, I wanna go 4 fingers hooking into the palm because I'm gonna start bringing this hand to my belly. At the same time, I'm not letting go of the lapel grip because I'm gonna start using my legs and the lapel, tap, tap, to attack the Americana. Using my shoulder like as a post on top of his shoulder, and the guard is the tap, tap, tap. Something to remember, especially on a big, strong guy like Professor here. He's gonna try really hard to rip this arm back in. When we feel this is why we didn't let go of the lapel, because I wanna make sure this arm doesn't go running away from me, and we'll go right into our wrist lock. With the wrist lock, he's gonna extend away, and now we're into a whole different series, right? Like you may, man, so many attacks, but the one that is relevant to what Kirk was asking about was after the Americana, he'll extend and drive back in because he doesn't want to get omoplated. By then, I've already hooked the leg. He can come all the way back to the guard. And we're into our squid. So Professor could stand. And now we're right back to Coach Jake's lapel guard. The easiest lapel guard to get into can be entered into from the floor and from closed guard. Does that make sense? Great
That was
question.
great. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. And he said, yeah, he did get it from the DVD. So
Thank you so much, dude.
Well,
I love
awesome.
learning. That was cool. I never saw that before.
Oh yeah?
Thanks. I was hoping I was gonna learn today too. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm learning mad stuff right now. I think this changed really well. So from Luma, she's asking, what's the best way to deconstruct or pass the gubber guard? I'm very curious about this myself.
That's incredibly difficult. So personally, I don't feel very comfortable passing the gubber once it's locked on. This is an incredibly difficult position. If you don't know what the gubber is, guys,
I have a good answer to this.
yeah?
I let you sweep me to mount. Okay? I don't get finished. I make sure that I end up mounted so that I can then undo everything and escape the mount.
So I need to work on my mount attacks, I guess. All right, so the gubber, guys, it's the gi rubber guard. This has been around for a long time. It comes from that classic overhook guard. We're gonna get on our side, and it's gonna start to look like rubber guard. But like I'm not super flexible, man. Bringing my leg over would be incredibly difficult for me. The gubber allows me to skip that step. So instead, I'll bring my foot up, and we'll bring that lapel around the ankle. And now it could be in either hand, could be on either side of the head, doesn't matter. Professor's got a lot of work to do here. Now, super big fan of trying to escape this position once we're this deep. The one thing I would say is this hand becomes incredibly important for me, the guard player. I need this arm stuck. It's gonna allow me to start attacking all these different chokes and omoplatas. So Professor would be very well served to battle this arm back out of this overhook. He knows I'm going to try to get it over and over again, right? But what we're looking for is get this hand off the floor. You'll probably have to use this other arm to build your base. As you do that, I recommend standing up, right? I don't recommend coming down or hanging out here. Just because your hand is free doesn't mean you're out, because I'll always try to zombie the arm and come back into my overhook. So really important to build our base, get the hand back to the center, and now we're getting up out of here, because now it's a battle of strength. I'm not in a good position. You know that I'm going to try to transition to this omoplata. Man, very difficult for me. The kryptonite to my gubber is if you get to standing, but don't stand unless you've cleared the overhook. Does that make sense?
I haven't been successful yet, Lulu.
That makes me feel a lot better. So I get taken down.
My mount defense is on point. My mount defense is on point. It's been 20 years of mount defense. I haven't had much experience dealing with the gubber guard, so I'm like, mount.
So these next two questions, we've got one from YouTube and we've got one from Facebook, and I think they're going to chain together well because it's both about half guard.
Deep half?
Please be deep half. Please.
This is only deep half, no gi. I don't argue with you, deep half gi. Deep half gi is amazing.
Oh man.
Deep half. If it's deep half, no gi, Alex and I have to take this off and have a little battle first.
Awesome. Well, maybe we'll get to that at the end. So another question from YouTube, and so he's beginning to purposefully try and train the half guard position, like he's trying to get there a lot. And so what he's asking is, do you guys have any entries from the feet or the knees that he can use so he can spend more time practicing that position? Like, how does he get directly to the half guard from the knees or from the feet?
I know what Bernardo does.
Go ahead, Professor.
All right. So this is not mine at all. This is all Bernardo Faria. He showed this to us. So what he does is he likes to make a 2-on-1 grip on the lapel, 1 and 2, okay? And where he goes from here is he's going to pull in this direction to get that foot to step, because he likes to be on his right side in the half guard, okay? Now as he does this, he takes a wide step out and he shoots his middle leg, which is my right leg right now, into the half guard. So he goes, pulls, steps, lays down, and he gets right here, okay? And now he has this lapel out, he grabs it, kicks it through, and now here he is, and he goes to deep half right here. Okay, so that is how to do it from standing. From me personally, I don't know about you, you can go next, but I am a half guard player. I love the half guard, and when I start a roll with somebody, I shake hands, I grab it, I just shoot my foot in right here, okay? I try to make sure that I have this leg high to start and my knee and elbow attached, because I don't want this to happen, okay? This will kill you from practicing the half guard. Yeah. Because if you start there all the time, you're gonna end up there plenty if you want to get good at half guard. If you start there, you're gonna be like, oh my God.
Half guard sucks.
Half guard's terrible, right? And yeah, it's not half guard that's terrible. It's how you started.
Right.
And the reason is because when you shoot this leg in, you just do this, okay? And it allows him to start coming towards me. So what I don't want him to be able to do is gain this space, okay? I hate them having this space. So that's why I start with a high leg and if I couldn't get cross, I'm just here. I might switch it to the cross. Either lapel I'm okay with. You know, I prefer this one, but I showed here to start because it's sometimes easier to get, okay? And he doesn't, can you get to me?
Oh, no.
No, he's not coming to me. I would love for him to come to me, because now when he comes towards me, I can open it and start to play my pummel game. Those are two ways, one from the feet and one from the knees that I like. Professor?
So the frames.
The frames, yeah.
I love everything you just showed. Alex, it was Alex, yeah?
Uh-huh.
I love everything about that. I think it's awesome you pointed out the framing.
Yeah.
Because when I started trying to learn half guard, I constantly hated half guard because I just would go there to get smushed, right? Like I'd go there and get smushed out, it'd be flat, and I don't understand how this works. The frames.
The frames, because people pummel first.
Right.
People do this, right? You go here, you're ready for it, you collapse down on my pummel, especially if you're dealing with somebody who's large, like men, or larger than you for sure. When this pummel gets collapsed down, man, this takes a lot of skill to be able to deal with a collapsed pummel. So, like you said, I never pummel first.
Yeah.
You know, I frame first. I am in here, I'm keeping them away, you know, and hoping that I time or I just get a feel for when they start to push into me so that I can open up the space so that when I pummel, for me, my key is that I don't like, can we turn this way a little bit? I don't like this down elbowed pummel until I've steered his foot. So what I'm saying right now is if I have a down elbow, my elbow is on his back, he can recover this. He can start to get his weight back and not even pummel. Even if he lets me have the pummel, he can just smash my pummel down. This sucks, okay? So that when I've opened up the space correctly with frames, and now I pummel, I have this palm up high pummel, can you smash that pummel down?
Not without moving.
Not without moving me, I move too. Then I steer the foot. Now he won't be able to smash, and now I can come down to this down elbow pummel. I have the leg steered, can you smash now? No, you can't. So for me, those are the keys with my half guard.
I love that. Great question.
I learned that on The Ultimate Fighter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and not from my coach. My coach was Mir, but Big Nog was the other coach. And he would always be training late.
Okay.
You know, so I would, he would train when we were coming. So, because his team was done, and I would go and I'd watch him train. And I had 6 weeks of just picking apart his half guard. Plus, he was such a good half guard.
Yeah, exactly. What a half guard to study.
Yeah,
oh my
because
goodness.
he made it work in MMA.
Right.
Right. He made it work in MMA, which was ninja.
So Jake Bell asks next is, can you show a couple of your favorite sweeps from half guard?
Nice.
Yes, Jake, I love you. You are one of my favorite people in the whole world. But do we have anybody other than Jake Bell that asked the question?
Yeah, we do have some other
I
questions.
love you, Jake. I love you, but we want to get to some
questions.
other people's questions too, baby.
Let's see. So Bruce is asking, and this is a quick one.
Bugby?
Yeah.
Same thing for Bruce. He got one already.
Well, I think everybody would be curious about this one.
Okay.
What is each of your favorite jiu-jitsu match that you've ever seen, and what is your favorite match that you've ever competed in?
Okay. Seen.
Oh, man. So many. I think the Faria and Santos match a while back was pretty stimulating. I was there for that one, so the crowd was very into it. Like the atmosphere was incredible. I think that one ranks up there. All the Buchecha matches there at Worlds were incredible every year, so big fan there. What about you, Professor?
My favorite one that I've ever seen was in the Tijuca Tennis Club, because that place. I don't know if it was a match, but it was a year. You know, in 2006, it was just. I can remember sitting there and just like the energy in that place when Hager, I think it was Hager and Jacare, I'm pretty sure, in the finals, and it was craziness, and then everyone jumped over the cage afterwards, you know, to argue what was going on. So it was just absolute madness. But just the energy of the Tijuca Tennis Club was amazing.
That's incredible.
How about competed in?
I would say the match with Fight to Win Pro. Big shout out to Fight to Win Pro.
Seth Daniels.
Yeah, man. They gave me an opportunity to fight Gabriel Gonzaga in a jiu-jitsu match, which was very cool for me, as like that was the era of MMA that I came up in. So getting to share the mats with someone like as highly decorated and as accomplished as him was incredible. Like that was a really cool experience for me.
I have three that I can't separate. Two that I lost and one that I won. So first, let's do the two that I lost. One, Yuri, because it was ADCC.
Right.
Like that was such a dream for me for 20 years.
Yeah.
To make it to ADCC. I tried for 20 years to make it to ADCC and failed, which then led to me getting in this year. Seth Daniels, shout out. You know, helping a brother out. And then, but I lost, you know. I got smashed. And then the Buchecha one. I got to compete against Buchecha in the Fight to Win Pro Fight for Cancer one. So it was just me and him again. So like all the lights, we were the main event, all the lights were on us. I really liked that one because my kids were there.
Wow.
You know? Yeah. And my kids were crying afterwards because daddy just lost, right? But then I got to go like introduce them to Buchecha.
Right.
And they got to see that Buchecha was just a dude, you know, and like he and daddy like had a match, and you know, it's totally okay. Like he's not a mean guy or anything like that.
Right.
He just happens to be better than daddy at jiu-jitsu, you know. The one, my most memorable one that I won was again back in the Tijuca Tennis Club. I was a brown belt. It was the second year that I was competing as a brown belt at the Worlds, and open class went first. And in the open class, I got caught in this dude's spider guard, and he literally right away put my shoulder down, which got him an advantage, and then that was it, right? And then that was it, and it was just like 7 more minutes of me like, you know? And I knew that the next day, I had him in the quarterfinals of my weight, you know?
Yeah.
So I was up all fucking night. You know, I was up all night doing like, what am I gonna do with this? He's gonna play the same damn game. You know, it's just me and my wife in Brazil, right? Because it was just the two of us. And at 3 in the morning, I hadn't slept yet. I go, baby, wake up! And I wake her up, and she's like, what? I was like, I know what I'm doing to this dude tomorrow. I'm gonna do the TMoney fucking Footlock, you know? And she's like, what? I'm like, you'll see it tomorrow. Okay?
I gotta tell you about it right now.
but it came to me. I was freaking, right? Because like, man, I just spent all this money, all this time, all black belt a whole other year. You know?
Yeah.
And then and I'm like, God damn it, this guy is just gonna hold me again. So the match starts, and the TMoney flying Footlock. I knew he was pulling the spider guard.
Where should I be?
Stand. You know? And I knew so what he did the day before is he made this cross grip, right? Pulled foot in the hip, okay? And then switched, boom, and now here we are, you know? So I baited him. I sat here like this. I gave him my hand. He went to get it. I stripped the grip. His foot's in my hip. Go play the De La Hiva. And then right away, boom, and bang, and I break his foot, right? And you know, and then you just see this gringo girl, blonde hair girl, standing up in the crowd, and then you can tell her, I'm like, baby, sit down. So
that's incredible.
So that's my favorite one that I won.
Awesome. That was worth doing this whole All right, so we did get a bump on the half guard question from Devin on YouTube.
Okay.
He is asking what are some favorite half guard sweeps that you have.
Me. Go to half guard series, everybody. Okay. So we have our frames set up very well. Look, I personally always like this hand. A lot of people will show just blocking the bicep. I don't believe that this controls the distance well enough. He can get away from me, okay? And now if I miss my reverse half, my reverse De La Hiva, when he hops up, he can just get right over this leg, and I start to have problems, okay? So I learned to be controlling the tricep as well, so that I can manage the distance of the fight. You have to remember, fighting is always about, the number one thing in fighting is 1, don't get your back exposed, and then 2, you have to control distance. If you can't control distance, you have a huge problem. So I like to control the tricep so that if he were to start to pull away, I'd be able to feel it and start to follow up. Most people don't pull away. Most people do push in now. So when he starts to try to make space, I open and I make my good pummel. From my good pummel position, I switch my feet. So I steer and I turn his knee out. And now I'm going to grab his hip. Okay? Now, I have 3 things going here. I have the hip steered. I have the hip grab. I'm underneath of him. He's way in front of me. So his base is very bad. okay? And I have a good control of his hip. From this position, I'm gonna take the leg that's steering, and I'm gonna knee him in the butt, knocking him forward. Go back. As I do that, this hand that was controlling the tricep is gonna suck under my ribs, so that as I knee in the butt, I suck under the ribs, and I pop up behind. And now here I am, ready to wrestle, okay? Or take the back. I will set down. It'll be depending on a lot of what he does. If he stays here, I'm gonna take his back. If he whizzers, okay, my hands will be locked and I'm gonna run him over. Most people whizzer. Off of that, okay, open, good pummel, steer the foot, hip. I'm trying to knock him. He's very aware of that. So as I'm doing this, he's whizzering and pushing very hard into me, okay? His weight is on me. My free hand will go from here or his knee underneath, move my hips through, and I roll through and set him down. Those are my go-tos from the half guard. Let me show one thing real fast, what to do when the person does sit up, when they go away from you, okay? And the reason that I have the tricep, okay? So I'm here, if Professor just is going to go up, this grip on the tricep allows me to feel it, so he starts to pull away from me. I can follow him up, make head position, get the belt, and now I can pull him down with me, steer the foot, and now we're back into it.
I like that. So you're connecting to him, right? Rather than just keeping him away as a push, you're going push and pull.
I like to think of it like wrestling, okay? You get that good underhook, and I control your hip.
Right.
And then once I have the underhook and control your hip, you have big problems.
Yeah, word.
I wrestle from the half guard.
Nice.
You know, is
Yeah,
what
I
I
like
like to think. It's how I like to think of it.
All right, we got one more from. They're asking for the half guard footwork from a different angle.
Okay.
Knock that out real quick, then we got another question I want to address.
Just the footwork they want to see?
Yeah, just the footwork.
Okay. So here we are from this angle, guys. Open, pummel, okay? Until I do this, look, so many times we do this, and this is wrong. My foot's in the way. I'm going to switch my feet. And now from here, I'm going to pull his leg out. Some people wonder that why you don't have to be worried about, I'm not worried about the pass at all. Because if I do this and he hops up the knee cut, he did it for me, and I'm out.
Got it. Still got some more questions on Facebook, but one I want to address on YouTube really quick. It's from Pawan Nelson.
Hey,
Oh, you know this person.
Pavan, yeah, hey Pavan, how are you?
Fantastic. Any recommendations for how to best use these videos and instructional DVDs during this time, especially if we don't have a training partner at home?
That's a great question, man. So, Professor, I'm sure will have an amazing answer. I'm going to steal the one I could think of the most. Just paying attention to the videos, right? Is no different than what Professor was just talking about with watching half guard while he's on the Ultimate Fighter. Didn't necessarily need the reps to be able to absorb the information. So having the content, being consistent with your studying, will have a huge impact on your understanding when you're able to get back to training with a partner.
That's my answer.
Hey, I knew I had to get in there first, right, to steal it.
That's my answer. Is you have to treat it like study.
Yeah.
You know, you can't treat it like I'm bored. I'm gonna go watch some jiu-jitsu,
Right.
and then I don't know, do this and that. Like when I still study. You study?
Oh yeah, all
right?
the time.
I sit down at my computer, and then I watch it. And for me, I know what I do. Because I'm gonna teach it later. You know what I study is I video it with my phone. So that I can, just like the clip of it, so that I can go back and just catch it again real fast. But it's study. It is not, it's in no form entertainment. You know, and I think sometimes we mix those two up when we watch jiu-jitsu, is we go, oh, look, I want to see this cool move. And you watch the cool move, and then you go look for another cool move. Where I know I watch the same thing over and over.
It's still fun.
It's
just in
fun.
a different way.
Yeah. It's got a different purpose.
Right.
Like I know I've watched Danahar's leg locks, back, front head, Kimura, and they're all 10 hours. right? I watched them all twice.
Wow.
So,
That's commitment.
you know, I've watched them all twice for the purpose of study.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I love that, man.
So that's what I would say.
I
I
get
think
that.
we're on the same page.
I've watched the back 3 times now.
3 times. Purple belt.
Purple belt, yeah, exactly.
Hungry.
Exactly. All right, so we got another one here from Adam McGowan on Facebook.
Adam.
Any chance you can give a white belt the various white belt subs while on top, either side control or top mount? Sorry if this is a ridiculous white belt question, but I only know a couple from there, Americana and armbar. And if you have the time, maybe go over S mount. So he's asking for any good submissions for a white belt from the top position of side control or mount, other than Americana and armbar.
Mount is definitely front choke. You
Yeah.
have to have a good front choke from the mount. Easton.Online, go watch all the DVDs. We just did it.
But what about the S mount?
The S mount. So the S mount. You want to do it?
No, you go ahead, Professor.
So the S mount is an arm bar. So there's like, but, and you tell me if you disagree, Professor. Let's move over a little bit. Everything from mount starts with the choke, okay? Especially in the gi. If you don't have a strong front choke from the mount, you don't have a strong mount attack. Would you agree? Disagree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay? You have to start there. And there would be no reason to go to S mount, I would say, until they've started to defend your said front choke.
Right.
Would you agree with this?
Yep.
Okay? So I have to make sure that I'm getting a good, strong grip in the collar so that I can really start to attack this front choke. If you can't front choke every white belt, there's no reason to move on. As I would say, if you're able to do this. Okay? The under choke can be very difficult, so I'm going to do a little more on the over choke. My hand is in. Now look, God, I keep getting all sidetracked here. I know you see a lot of people like popping out these lapels right now and all this stuff. I think you would agree, Professor, not the place for a white belt to start, right?
No need to.
No need to,
Right.
okay? My hand's in the lapel, okay? One of the big mistakes that people make is they take this elbow and they drive across. Uncomfortable, yes?
Yep.
Finish you?
Never.
Will you ever even move because of it?
I won't tap because of it.
Right, right. Even no matter how bad that gets,
Right,
you're just
right.
like, what? Nope,
No, not
not
really
happening.
that way.
I don't even resist it. I'm just like, fine.
Right.
Because I know there's nothing that this person can do from this position. I have to relieve the pressure to then go move on to something else. This is the most common white belt problem with the choke.
Absolutely.
Is they do this because other white belts tap. And it's just it's just you don't understand how to be uncomfortable yet. It's not your fault. You've tapped from that, Professor?
Oh,
As a
yeah.
white belt?
Oh, yeah.
Me
All
too.
the time.
Me
Yep.
too. All the time. Okay? Not now though. Right? Never now. If it could put me to sleep, I'd probably go to sleep.
Just on principle.
Just on principle. So look, my hand gets in the collar, I curl my wrist and I take my elbow and I pull him up. This is way more pressure, yes?
Oh, yeah.
The first thing that people try to do here, you don't like this pressure. He tries to, can you bridge from here?
No.
He can't because his head's not on the mat. The first thing people try to do is put their head back down on the mat. When they put their head back down on the mat, that opens up the neck. Okay? So this is the #1 way that I really like to get the neck, so that I can start the front choke. What it does from here though, is I don't always get the front choke. The hand comes on so quickly that he's like, yo, that. Right? He starts to block my choke. As soon as he blocks my choke, look at his right elbow there. I put my weight in my hand. I slide up, get the elbow, curl, lift him up, get my knee under his head. Now this is S mount, but this is going to be a done armbar here. Okay? Under the arm, cup, reach, scoop, lean, knee on the face, step over, and here we are. That's how I would combine it. With the #1 mistake being from the mount, taking that forearm and driving it across the face. This is the most common thing because, again, it goes back to that thing, how you define winning,
Right.
right? So, Professor, anything you want to add from there?
No, I love the point you're making about bringing them to the choke rather than taking the choke to them. Because it feels like, oh, I got to go cut their head off, so I use my elbows, and it does the opposite of what I was intending there.
Right.
Like bringing me up, immediately I feel the choke. Right. You don't even have the other arm on yet, and I can feel the pressure on my neck.
How's your Gracie?
Word.
How's your Gracie? Number 1 front choker from the mount in the history of all front chokers from the mount.
Fantastic. So we got about 5 minutes left, and we got 1 question left. So I think this is working out perfectly. So maybe we can answer this one and then
wrap it up.
Sign off, kind of thing. So this one's from Michael Nordine on Facebook, and he's saying, as a 2-stripe white belt who's never been particularly strong, I find myself getting overpowered all the time when rolling, and not just against bigger people. What kind of at-home strength training would you recommend during the quarantine?
I would love to take this one, man. Most people know I'm a little bit oversized, a little tall, right? But I've never been the strongest guy when I go compete. Right? Very rarely am I ever physically stronger than my weight class. Most of these guys at ultra heavy, man, 221 is just like the cutoff to start the party, right? So a lot of times I have big, strong guys. And I think that one of my
Farias,
biggest...
right?
Yeah.
How big was he, like 300?
Yeah, he's a very strong guy, man. He's beast mode. And I think one of my bigger struggles in jiu-jitsu in my start, like the lower belts, was that I was using that perspective of strong in a field that it wasn't really asking to be applied to, right? And the thing that I would suggest, right, offer another perspective. Let's think about it as the jiu-jitsu is asking me not to be stronger than my opponent, but strong enough to move myself, right? So you're gonna have to be in physical condition to do jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu will get you there though, right? It's not gonna not equip you with those skills, but I'm definitely doing things off the mat that allow me to train, right? Allow me to stay on the mats more often, not with the intention of ever overpowering my opponent. And I think that as you spend some more time in the martial art, you'll notice how there's techniques that are feeling like they're being overpowered by strength, and in reality, we're just not quite putting all the pieces together yet, right? And once we start to find where the technique can support me rather than my physical stature, then it won't matter who I'm fighting against or what I'm doing, the jiu-jitsu is going to work, right? So I think it's really important to allow yourself some time to understand that it's not just your physical attributes that are at play, it's very much our understanding, our ability to understand what the jiu-jitsu is trying to show us rather than what we can physically make happen, right? I don't have to bend the reality to my will, I just have to be able to ride the wave, right? What do you think, Professor?
Yeah.
Word.
Sorry. I was swallowing right when you asked me. Some of the strongest people you've felt on the mat are not that physically strong.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Word.
I can remember one time on this trip that I had with in Brazil. We went to the original Gracie Muay Thai Hoyler school.
Wow.
And I got paired up with this. I was a purple belt at the time. I got paired up with this massively jacked 250-pound, and I wasn't this big. I was a light heavyweight, you know, so I was like 210 at the time.
Tiny weight.
You know, tiny. Yeah, it was tiny for me. You know, brown belt, and I just mopped the floor with this dude, way stronger than me.
Right.
And then Hoyler was like, okay. And he gave me someone who looked like Mikey Musumeci, but a black belt.
Right.
And this dude killed me.
Yeah.
Just murked me.
Right.
You know, the whole match. And I was and the strong dude, he was stronger than me for sure, but not like the amount that I was stronger than the other guy. Because the other guy was like 130 pounds.
Right.
Like we were way different, you know?
Question.
No question. There's no way.
Right.
Like the one dude was maybe halfway stronger than me, and I was like 5 times stronger than that other dude, and it didn't matter.
Right.
You know. I'll never go against as long as you're healthy. What's the person's name that asked this question?
This
Adam?
is Michael Nordine.
Michael Nordine. Michael, I'll never go against, as long as you're healthy, physically capable, and able to do just some basic exercises, right? Like the basics. Some squatting, some deadlifting. I think overhead pressing is very good for jiu-jitsu. But, you know, if you're, it depends on your shoulders, you know. But those very basic lifting exercises, I believe, are very good. And we have some great places. I don't know where you are, Michael, but if you want to reach out, I have some great places that can help you with your physical strength. I think Professor knows some people too. But again, I want to stress, especially as the 2-stripe white belt.
Right.
You know, like the fact that you're a 2-stripe white belt and asking this question is the reason that we're trying to go away from the strength, because I know you are perceiving it as the strength, as you said.
So that's what you brought to the table.
Right. But I would say that I would agree with Professor that it's probably not.
Just train, my friends.
I think that's all we got for today.
Okay.
Man, that's awesome.
Guys, thank you all so much.
Yeah. Word.
Such a difficult time we're in. Such an unknown, right? The uncertainty of what tomorrow is going to look like. We're waiting. Every day we're waiting for this. Oh no, you're going to be locked away in your houses. Oh, go get toilet paper. Da, da, da. You know, we're being put to decisions that we don't know. This is what the jiu-jitsu has prepared us for. We are ready for this. We are the jiu-jitsu that you are doing, that we are trying to teach, is what is preparing us for these very moments. You and I have trained a bunch, right?
Yeah.
Who tapped the last time? Do you remember?
No.
No clue.
No, not at all.
No clue. I think you had some struggle. I think I had some struggle.
Always.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing right now. Nobody wants to be here. Nobody wants to be like this. Have some space for each other. Have some love for one another. And be really, really kind. Right? And be really, go a little extra, be kind. Because, man, that other person's situation that you might be dealing with, it might be worse than yours. It really might be. You know, so let's take that approach. I can't wait. We're going to be there. Don't worry. Okay? Easton's going to be around. Don't worry. I get to worry about that, but I'm not worried about it. You know, we're going to be just fine. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, that was awesome. I love that. I love how he's talking about making some room, right? Because, yeah, we are suffering, but there's space in there for more than just the suffering. And Professor was the first person that really got this burnt into my mind, this idea of the obstacle is the way, right? Man, the jiu-jitsu, we talk about this all the time in class. We see the physical side of the jiu-jitsu, we forget that it's all up here, right? All this training is your ability to problem solve in stressful scenarios, right? Learning to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Exactly right? Here's our chance. Here's our chance to apply this mentality that we work on every day in our training. And I think that's amazing to think about everyone around us as well, right? Because there are times you're going to be that moment of calm, that light in the darkness for your neighbor, for your loved ones. This is your chance to give back in multiple ways to our community. And our community is right here.
For sure. There's only one thing I want to talk about real fast in logistics questions that I've been getting asked. If other instructors can do the instructionals like what you and I are doing here, we're trying, but you're not sick.
No, sir.
And I'm not sick, and Jordan's not sick, and no one else has been in here.
Right.
So having the more people that come in, the more we can train together and roll because we're both not sick.
Right.
You know, so the more people you add to that, the bigger this whole thing grows. And it's not about me getting sick or you getting sick, right? Most likely all the science says that we're going to be okay. We don't want this thing to grow. This is why we're not open right now. This is why we're not shut down. It's so that we can take care of the people, because we know who we're talking about here. We're talking about the elderly, the immune compromised elderly, and we will all be there someday.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if we're lucky enough, we're all going to be there.
Right.
They took care of us, right? We're here because of them. So it's our job to make sure that we don't make life worse for them right now, okay? So that's why we're shut down. That's why we're closed. That's why it's just the two of us that you're seeing right now. on these videos and things, because we know that we're, you know, if one of us gets sick, we'll stop, right? We'll just stop. So I've been fielding that question a little bit. Yeah, if you have any other questions, at Fire Marshal 205.
The Shaved Gorilla, if you're doing Instagram.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So if you have any questions, hit us up there. We greatly appreciate it. Everybody give Jordan some love because he figured this out, my man.
Word.
You know, he's getting one step closer to Jamie every day. You know, just one step. So that's it. That's all we got.
Thank you guys so much, man. Be kind.